I've audited over 150 Google Ads accounts, and I can tell you right now that every single account I've audited that isn't getting the performance it wants is suffering from at least one of these 5 issues that I'm going to walk you through in this video. The 5 issues I'm going to break down today are the 5 most common things that stop Google Ads accounts from scaling past 10K, 100K, or even $1 million per month. So if you want to find out exactly what's holding back your account right now, watch this video. So the first issue that stops accounts from scaling on Google Ads is, if you've ever seen my channel before, you'll probably know what I'm about to say, conversion tracking. When conversion tracking is not set up correctly, it's almost impossible to scale on Google Ads because you can't feed back the right data to the algorithm, and therefore Google will not be able to find the right people to show your ads to. So what does broken conversion tracking look like? Well, a little bit like this, but not quite. This is actually a pretty good conversion tracking setup compared to most. You can see right here, there is a single primary purchase action, which is good. That's what you want. And it's recording purchase value right now, and it's accurate purchase value, which is great. We do have this little needs attention flag here, but this one does pop up somewhat regularly based on occasional issues in the account. This one here is regarding item IDs and merchant center. And something else with COGS, right? So this isn't a major issue, but it is something that is definitely worth looking into. Now, besides that needs attention flag, right? The biggest things you need to look out for in your conversion tracking here. Number 1, a single primary action in your account. If you're an e-commerce brand, you should have one primary action that is your purchase action. If you have any other actions set to primary, you're going to get duplicate tracking, you're going to get wildly inflated numbers, and you're not going to be able to actually show Google the true picture of what your performance looks like. And this primary action should be as accurate as possible. Now, the Google Shopping app on Shopify is usually the easiest way to set this up for 99% of stores and beginners especially. All you have to do is integrate Google Ads with Shopify in the Shopify dashboard under the Google and YouTube app on Shopify. I recommend using that connection. If you connect it that way, everything will be set up automatically for you and will all be working from day one, which is great. You can see here, this is again, the Google Shopping app add to cart. It is once again accurately tracking conversion value for add to carts that have occurred in the last 14 days. Now, these other actions that we have here, right? If you're an e-commerce brand, once again, you want to be tracking purchase as your primary action, a singular purchase primary action, and then add to cart can be secondary actions, and then begin checkout also secondary actions. Make sure, again, one primary, all the rest secondary. I cannot emphasize that enough. Now, beyond that, I do actually recommend having multiple purchase actions, only one primary, but multiple purchase actions here so you can track and compare the results to make sure the results coming in are accurate, right? Right now, we only have one source of truth. So if Shopify is reporting back inaccurate data here, we're actually not going to have a true picture of real performance, and we don't have anything to compare it against in this account. So what this account needs is a backup tracking option. Generally, I recommend using GA4, potentially a third-party tracking app, or even a custom conversion tracking setup. Any of the 3 that just use a different reporting method to Shopify and allows you to basically cross-check your data to make sure it's accurate. Let's say we did have a GA4 action in here, and the GA4 action was reporting vastly different numbers, 50% of the conversion value, for example. Then we know something's broken and we need to investigate. So it's good to have it as just a fail-safe to make sure that things are working. Now, aside from that, all you really need is a primary action that's functional, a backup action to make sure the primary one is tracking correctly, and then your secondary add to cart and begin checkout options just for observation. Those ones are there only for you to look at and use as data points. We can see here, right, $453,000 added to cart, only 99,000 purchasing. That means that of these people are adding to cart, about 25% of purchasing, which is pretty standard and nothing to be worried about. But if this was maybe $1 million and this was 100,000, then might be some cause for concern, right? Now, if you are a service-based business, again, you only want to have one primary action, but you may be allowed to have 2. Your main primary action should probably be a form submission or a booking, whatever is the most relevant and the lowest funnel action you can have in your business. And the other primary action should probably be phone calls, but you need to be very careful with phone calls as a service-based business. Don't make your primary action click to call, because if you do that, you're going to optimize towards people who click the number but don't necessarily call. The conversion needs to be titled phone calls, and it needs to be, you can do calls from ads, that is okay, because those are calls that come from directly from shopping ads. And then the other one is going to be called calls, right? Or just like calls from website, for example. You can rename it however you like, but the point is it needs to be measured at a minimum time frame. So you need to say, Google, only register this as a conversion if someone has called me for 30 seconds or 60 seconds, or 60 seconds or above, or whatever it may be, because this indicates a level of intent that is much higher than just someone who has clicked on a phone number. Issue number 2 is mixing branded and non-branded traffic. Now I'm going to show you a live example here of this occurring in this account that we don't manage, but it's just basically to give you some context. I will blur out some of the information here just for the privacy of this brand, but I'm going to jump in here and show you the main issue. So if we jump into what is meant to be a branded shopping campaign here, right? Branded shopping campaign, we're going to search terms. We can see that their top term here, which is performing, and this one will be blurred out here, but this top term is actually their brand name, which is great. That's what we want. And so is this term here, right? So these are both the branded terms within a branded shopping campaign. Now, in theory, that's great because branded shopping is supposed to carry branded terms. However, the issue is there's also a lot of non-branded traffic leaking through. You can see this one here, this one here, this one here, this one here, right? You get the point, right? A lot of spend in this campaign is going towards non-branded traffic. Now, you can see, for example, if we do look at the spend, the majority is spent on the branded term up here. There's a good amount spent on this branded term here, but there's also a lot of spend here going toward these completely non-branded terms that don't have anything to do with branded traffic. And this is an issue because we need to separate these types of traffic because they are fundamentally very different buyers. People searching for a brand name are pretty much ready to buy. They're going to have a much higher conversion rate, as you can see by the extremely high conversion rates on this branded traffic compared to the non-branded traffic, right? Now, usually the issue is the other way around. Usually the issue is in a non-branded campaign, you're getting heaps of branded traffic. Now, this isn't happening in this account because there has been some level of separation in the non-branded campaign. However, it happens in the vast majority of accounts we go into. If your non-branded campaign, your campaign that you're trying to acquire new customers with, is getting branded traffic, and you can figure this out by going into campaigns, insights and reports, and search terms. If there are any branded terms flooding through into your non-branded campaign, you are tanking your performance because the more signals, the more mixed signals you give Google, the worse it's going to perform. You need to give it very clear signals of what you want it to achieve in the campaign. If you're running a non-branded campaign, you need to feed it extremely clear non-branded signals. Otherwise, it's going to go after a mix of traffic. It's going to lean into the easiest opportunities, which are branded traffic. Now, luckily, this is very easy to fix. On a non-branded campaign, if you want to ensure that you target non-branded traffic, you apply a negative keyword list of your branded terms. So what you do is you go into keywords, and you go into keywords then, you go to negative keywords, and within those negative keywords, you simply add your brand name as a negative keywords. Now I recommend saving your brand name as a list so you can easily apply it to other campaigns, but you just need to exclude your brand name from those non-branded campaigns and make sure that they aren't targeting it. Now in a branded campaign, for example, a branded search campaign is easy because all you do is you target your brand name on exact match. Branded shopping, however, is a little bit more complex. You do need to use a script to effectively exclude this. I think the reason that this brand is still running, getting these issues with the non-branded intake in here is because they aren't using a script to fully filter down to branded traffic. Now that script I detail in a bit more detail in one of my other videos, but basically if you just Google branded shopping script Google Ads, you'll find one and you can just import it in. Very straightforward, but it allows you to create a branded shopping campaign. So that's number 2, not separating branded and non-branded traffic. Number 3 ties in very closely to number 2 because if you make the mistake in number 2, you're probably making the same mistake that occurs in number 3. And number 3 is not going after new customers and not focusing on new customer acquisition. You can see in this screenshot here from a brand that we've managed back in February and March. This is Triple Whale. If you ever use Triple Whale, you know it can be used to get a deeper insight into attribution and figure out where your customers are coming from. You can see here NC ROAS represents a new customer ROAS. So basically what kind of return you're getting on new customers. In this case, Google Ads was absolutely killing it on the new customer ROAS. Meta wasn't doing as good. That's because Meta was scaling quite hard and it didn't have the assistance from Google that it needed. But you can see here, a new customer ROAS of 6.97 is fantastic, but it is lower than the Google reported, or the standard ROAS rather, of 7.11, right? This is the Triple Whale ROAS recorded. And new customer ROAS is almost always going to be lower than your standard ROAS. Actually, I think it always is going to be lower because it only accounts for the new customers that are coming in, how much you're spending on these new customers, and how much you're getting back from them. Now, in a lot of cases, the issue with Google Ads is it actually reports a very, very low new customer ROAS because people lean too heavily into branded traffic. And like I said, when you lean too heavily into branded traffic, what you end up doing is just selling to people who already know you, selling the same thing over and over again to people who've already bought from you. And that is completely ineffective. Also, people lean too heavily into remarketing on Google. That's another big one. If you lean too heavily into remarketing, once again, you're selling to the same people over and over again. You're not building new customer acquisition systems. The two biggest things you can do to fix this is number one, making sure your branded and non-branded are completely segregated. Because if you do that, then the vast majority of your non-branded traffic will be new customers because these are people with product intent rather than brand intent. And then also applying all of the new customer exclusions you can to reach the right people. You can use settings in your Google Ads campaigns to improve new customer targeting. Basically, you can turn on the new customer targeting only setting in your search and shopping campaigns. You can adjust your bids for new customers. You can also upload exclusion lists for existing customers. So you can upload a list of your existing customers and exclude them in your targeting to make sure that you're only showing to new people. But just make sure that you have a very close pulse on the new customer metrics for your business, because if you don't, you're going to end up spending a lot of money just to sell to the same people over and over again, and your business won't grow. Issue number 4 is having an under-optimized Google Merchant Center. Now, I'm going to walk you through this one in real time so you can see exactly the mistakes people make and how they get this one wrong. So you can see right here, this is me searching for a leather sofa on Google, right? And these are a range of shopping ads that these brands are running for leather sofas. Now, you can see some of these are much more appealing than others, right? To me personally, I find that these lifestyle images really help the sofas stand out in comparison to these images that are just a white background, right? I think this one looks quite nice. I think this one does too. And that is one thing you really need to focus on is product images. Most people let their Google Merchant Center just sync directly to Shopify and upload whichever images get imported through. But in that case, what you often end up with is really under-optimized images that are designed for a product page and not for a shopping listing like this. You need to make sure that your products are standing out in this listing because they are competing with everything else around them. When they're on your Shopify page, they're not competing with any competitors. They are on a page standalone and that someone's ready to buy it. In this case, someone is comparing you with all of your clearest competitors. So you need to make sure you're really standing out. Image is one thing. Another thing is the title, right? So this one here, Bungalow Premium 3-Seater Faux, that's good, right? The 3-seater aspect is great because a lot of people are searching for that. Leather sofa is great. Now, this one definitely has a benefit of having the dimensions as well. However, that could take away from the fact that it misses out on some other descriptive words like grid tufted cushion, for example, or it misses out on Italian leather, right? These are all different things that emphasize specific parts of the product. You need to make sure that the things you decide to emphasize in the first 90 characters, I believe, of your shopping title need to be the features that your customers care the most about. If you find that your customers really care about the fact that you have Italian leather, make sure you include that in the title. Don't swap it out for dimensions because someone may not care about that much. But if people care about the dimensions because you have a very specific size or a very unique size, you might want to highlight that because people actually care about it. Make sure you have good images, make sure you have good titles that highlight the things people want, and also make sure that you have all of your back-end data set up correctly. You can see here these sale prices in the big green numbers look really appealing compared to just a base price without a sale, right? The reviews extension here makes it look much more trustworthy by showing people who review these items and they're clearly good. 32 5-star reviews, right? That's awesome. You can see, for example, as well, discount codes, 15% off, sale. These are all things you can tweak in the back end of your GMC to make sure that your product appears as one of the better options amongst your competitors. And you can see we scroll through here and, you know, these kind of furniture stores do really good work because generally they are high ticket products, they sell well on Google, so they put a lot of effort in their listings. But if you were to search for something else that maybe is less popular or maybe just less cared for item, let's say like a electric bug swatter. This is like really random, I don't know why this has come to mind, but I think it could be a good example. These don't look anywhere near as nice as the furniture images do that. Like, I mean, you look at these, it's just a commodity thing at this point. It's like, how much does it cost? Well, the $6 from Amazon sounds good. But prices aren't considered as much when you have a really appealing listing due to the factors that I just mentioned. So make sure that you really optimize your backend GMC. Also very important to make sure you're actually showing up in the right searches. If you don't have the right words in your the right keywords in your titles and your descriptions, you're not going to show in the right searches because Google's not going to match you with the right intent traffic. Number 5 is the sneakiest and honestly my favorite one in Google Ads because you can make a lot of money from this when you leverage it correctly and you don't make the mistake that a lot of accounts make. Now, in this case here, you can see once again, I've blurred out the search terms. However, you don't need to see these search terms in order to get what I am going to teach you here. So the biggest issue that I see in a lot of accounts outside of the 4 that I've already mentioned is that they aren't allocating their spend to the right things. They aren't allocating their spend to the highest returning opportunities. For example, in here, you can see what I've done is I've sorted by clicks on these search terms in this campaign in this account. So this campaign is driving a lot of revenue for the account. This campaign is driving a significant portion of the total account revenue. And you can see when I search by clicks, there are a lot of keywords here that are getting a lot of clicks and a lot of spend. This search term, in particular, has taken $1,700 worth of spend, while these ones are taking $570, $516. So it's a decent spread across these, right? But you'll notice the conversion rates are quite low. Now, this is to be expected given that they are expensive products. However, there's one trick that we can do here, right? And if I instead sort this by conversion rate, and we go down and look at the highest converting terms, we can see there are some terms in here that have really high potential and aren't being spent on much at all. Now, these are very specific searches right here. And as a result, they have a 100% conversion rate. And this isn't very accurate because they only have a single conversion to work from. However, if we extend this window out to, let's say, we extend this to a few months, and we're looking at data from a few months now, I'll give you a live walkthrough, guys. This is the source. This is honestly one of the highest leverage things you can do in a Google Ads account. And then we go filter by conversions greater than 5. This now gives us significant data, so terms that are actually converting really, really well. And we can see when we sort it by more than 5 conversions, there aren't that many conversions that come through because it's not a very high volume account. However, we go even longer. I'm just going to sort it by all time. We can see if we go by all time here we go, right? We have some terms that are showing a really good opportunity. So these terms here, right? This one has 8.5 conversions. It's running at a 120% conversion rate. Now this has probably been inflated because it has one user who's bought multiple times. But once again, the point still stands. This term here, 15 separate conversions, which is a lot of conversions, and a 78% conversion rate. Yet over this entire time span since 2004, I mean, the ads have only actually been running over the last year or so. But you can see in the last year, this term has only had $29 allocated to it, despite getting a 78% conversion rate. Now, although this could be spurious, this could be sort of just complete coincidence to get so many conversions, it's certainly worth testing, right? Because 15 conversions is a significant number. So what you'd want to do in this case is you'd want to allocate more spend towards this specific term. Now that may look like creating a new search campaign that specifically targets just this term and nothing else. So you can invest some money into it and see if it converts better, because the chances are it will convert a lot better. We can see it in the data that it converts at a higher rate. You can also do this with shopping campaigns, right? You can try and lean more heavily into specific terms by excluding things that aren't performing well. But the point of all this is essentially that if you look at the highest spending terms, often the highest spending terms aren't those which are bringing you the best conversion rate. And there are often hidden terms in your search term report that you should be piling a lot more cash into because they can give you better returns when you start properly focusing on them. That is the secret adjustment, the secret amendment, the secret fix is to stop spending all your money on things that aren't giving you a good return. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found this very helpful. If you watched this and you just went, wow, I'm very overwhelmed, that's a lot to do. I don't know if I can really implement all that effectively, especially sorting through all these search terms and finding the things that convert at the highest rate. That's okay. I can help you. Feel free to click the link down below in the description of this video, book a call with me. I'll be more than happy to chat with you and figure out how we can help you make more money with Google Ads. Even if you aren't running Google Ads right now and you're watching this and going, wow, it looks like there's so much potential on there. For example, this account that's made $1.5 million from a single campaign in the last year, right? That's only one campaign as well. It has multiple campaigns, obviously. So there's a lot of money to be made on Google. And if you would like to explore this in more detail and figure out exactly how I might be able to help you make some more money on Google, please feel free to book a call down below once again, and I'd love to chat.